Hello, I'm Shelley Weber Tompkins, licensed acupuncturist and certified functional medicine practitioner. And today I wanted to talk to you more about what increases a woman's risk, but not just a woman's risk, also a man's risk with infertility. Both have very similar issues that can come up that will get in the way. And the first one I wanted to mention, a matter of fact, I am going to preface this with most of these all have a very common thread, what they cause and why they impact fertility. So keep that in mind. Age is a factor that is usually scares people most of the time when they talk about the 35 age factor for women. And they do find that a lot of times around that age is when women have more issues with making enough eggs, having good egg quality. Their AMH can a lot of times go downward. Their antral cells may not be as ample. And so those are definitely factors that do a lot of times happen for a lot of women around that age. What I would say about that is there's also a lot of women around that age that may have really taken good care of themselves throughout their life, not had too many issues as far as environmental factors with chemicals, etc. And their genetics may be really good. And so there are some people that defy that 35 age mark. But for a lot of us, that is something that we have to kind of keep in mind as far as how well are we taking care of ourselves. And it's never too late to start. And so if you are dealing with infertility right now, it's really a good time to start looking at what you're taking in food wise, drinking wise, environmentally. There are things we can do to lessen that impact too. So with your age, if you know that you are planning to get pregnant and you haven't already been trying, then looking at that age range and really starting to make changes well before 35 is a good idea. But it doesn't mean if you're already 35 or over that, that you don't, or okay, I should say, you can't make changes that can be really positive. So the next thing I'm mentioning is smoking. And that can be cigarette smoking, which has definitely been found to be not great for our systems because there's so much toxic effect and even how it affects our lungs and our cells. And I would say the last part is really important because our cells, their ability to clean house really does make a difference in how well we do health-wise and how it impacts our fertility too. So I'd say smoking, and that's not just cigarettes, that's also marijuana, because it can also slow things down. Just think of what it does to people when they smoke it. It's making them mellow, but it's also slowing everything down. So it can be nice for stress, but at the same time, it can also make your system not work as effectively and as well. So when you are trying, I would say both people in this partnership need to back away from those things, those chemicals, the alcohol, anything that could be impacting your health overall, especially the cell, because each one of these cells, we have millions and billions of them throughout our body, and they're in every organ system, and they all can get impacted if we're not being good to ourselves. And if we have good impact, then it's going to have a much better effect on our fertility. So the other thing besides smoking is alcohol intake. And I know it's another nice thing for stress reduction and when we play and have fun, but I would say if you're trying, it's really good to actually stop it completely. Or if you do a little bit, make sure it's only like a small, if you're doing a hard alcohol, I would say try to completely get rid of that one. But if you're doing something that's a very small glass, maybe you can get away with it here and there. But if you're really trying to make sure everything is pristine, and this is not just to get pregnant, but this is also what's feeding your baby as it grows internally. So the more you can clean things up and make sure that everything is in its best space and the cells are as clean as possible and that you're really trying to preserve your aging and also help your baby grow and be healthy too. So that's the idea is really 3 months ahead before you're even really trying is a good idea. And if you're going through IVF, the same thing applies. IVF is not always a game changer. You still have to go through steps to make sure that your system is at its best so that it's has a greater chance of working that first time, so that they get everything right. But because you're already in a good, healthy space, it's really helping that work better too. So I know I sound like a real not so fun person telling you you have to stop all these things, but it's for a really good cause. And you know this is something that's important to you, or you wouldn't be listening to me right now. Okay, so besides smoking and alcohol, the other one is being overweight. And this is something I struggle with some of my patients is that sometimes they've already been overweight for a while. And the problem with weight is that it's how it's affecting you internally, how it's affecting your organ systems. It's not just like fat shaming, anything like that. It's more of making sure that your body is working well. And since the liver a lot of times is what's getting impacted with it, and other organ systems where fat hangs out, they don't work as well when they have that added factor. So that's why making sure that you're kind of keeping yourself in better shape, doing some walking and exercise, watching what you're taking in internally food-wise, that's all really important. So you want to try and reduce some so that your system is working better. And if you're doing blood work, then you can see more of the before and after effects, how much it helps your liver markers, how much it helps lower cholesterol, which usually gets elevated because of inflammation. So we want to help mitigate some of those things, make your system stronger and better, so you're increasing your chances so much more. Okay, so the other thing besides weight, I mean, I do want to say underweight is also not so great either. You need to have enough fat in your system because that also helps create hormones. And so the whole cholesterol aspect of it is where we derive hormones. That's like a precursor. It's where it starts. So we need to grab onto that to make them. It's just when it's too much or too little that it gets in the way. So balance is really key here. The other thing is extreme weight fluctuation. So you don't want to be doing a lot of yo-yo dieting. That's not good either. Trying to keep it as more regulated as possible. Look for the good foods, organic as much as possible, especially with the Dirty Dozen. If you look at the environmental working group, if you go to their site, they have the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. The Clean 15 are the ones that are usually less pesticided, so a lot of times you can get away with them a little bit better. But the Dirty Dozen, the ones that are the most pesticided, you really need to go organic for them. Right now, we're trying to diminish any of the toxins that can get in the way and make the cells not function as well and not help the antral cells, which is your primordial little eggs that are there. We want everything to be as good as possible. So this is your chance to really clean it up, okay? I know we're heading into a new year. Well, for those that are watching it right now, we're heading into a new year. And so it's always a good time to kind of reset your intention to really clean it up. The other thing besides weight fluctuations is making sure that you're not over exercising, but also not under exercising. You don't want to be doing so much that you're causing damage to your system. And so, making it regular, but also not too much. You don't want to exhaust your system where you're not able to repair as well. So that's the other thing. And then lastly, I kind of hinted on this before, but the environmental aspect is big. There's a lot of things out there, depending on where you live. There may be more environmental, like more pesticides sprayed near you. There may be more odors. I mean, we have a border issue down in California where the border is not taking care of a lot of pollutants. And so these people I feel so bad for them. They're having to breathe in all this toxic stuff. And so if that's you, it's trying to find ways to, like, air purifiers at home, water purification, even more important to keep your food clean. So just being mindful of that. And you also have control over what chemicals you use on yourself. So if you're using face creams and lotions and makeup and stuff, trying to make sure you're a good label reader so you're minimizing things that could increase toxins internally, because a lot of that absorbs right inside, even your deodorants and stuff with the aluminum. There's a load, a toxic load. So what you're trying to do is minimize that. Look at what you got around you, be a good label reader, and things that you see, there's a lot of stuff in there that you don't recognize. It may be things that you need to clean up and get rid of and replace it with something a little more simplistic that's not going to test your skin or your immune system or your fertility. So those are the main things I wanted to share today, is really just trying to create more balance in your life, keep things that you know are toxic out of it, and really add a lot more that's going to be clean and nourishing to your body and to your future baby. So that being said, I hope you have a good day, and I look forward to seeing you for the next video, and I hope you'll follow and subscribe. Take care.